Hello all you whiskey turkeys, welcome to Whiskey Whistle. I'm your host Mark, and this is Whiskey Review number 101. What better whiskey to do for Whiskey Review number 101 than Wild Turkey 101? What's that, you may ask? Well, 101 refers to the proof, which is double the ABV. So this is 101 proof, and that's 50.5% ABV. Pretty heady stuff. Wild Turkey 101 apparently aged between 7.5 and 8 years. And this was said by the original Jimmy Russell on camera in front of everyone publicly. He spoke these words to Mr. Matthew McConaughey, the actor who is now also the creative director of, I believe, creative director of what? Creative director of, well, anyway, he's a creative director with the brand now, and I hope that is going to be a win-win situation, a win-win-win situation, in fact, for you and I, the consumers and lovers of Wild Turkey, for the company Wild Turkey, which is now in fact owned by Campari, the Italian liquor conglomerate, and also for Mr. Matthew McConaughey himself. Let's hope so. I think he is a very, very bright man. In fact, I think he's a genius. He's definitely an artistic genius. So let's hope that his creative juices get flowing for Wild Turkey. Now, you may wonder why there's two glasses here. Well, this is my second take, and the first take was, well, for one thing, it was 40 minutes, and I think that's too long. Secondly, it was without sound. For some reason, I failed with the sound. So despite the late hour, it is getting close to 2 a.m. here in Seoul, South Korea. Despite that late hour, I am going to persevere and get this done tonight because as a father and as a person with a job that's going to pay bills, there's just not a lot of time in a week for these little, we'll call it an indulgence, because that's what it is at this point. Anyway, we're going to set that aside. This one has a bit of water added, and it's had a lot of time. So anyway, one good thing about the mishap is that we can compare it to Wild Turkey, neat, poured only recently, to Wild Turkey with a bit of water and a little bit of time, and see how that compares. Okay? Before I get started, a quick thank you, a big thank you to someone who also does whiskey reviews on a channel here on YouTube. He's been doing it for a lot longer than me, and in fact he has been very supportive pretty nearly from the beginning, and we've shared a few, there's a mosquito, I think I caught it, yes I did. We shared a few laughs, we've had a few nice little chats, and well, he's an all-around good chap, and his name is Joe, and the YouTube channel is called Whiskey Wednesday, and today is in fact Wednesday. It's Whiskey Wednesday. Just today he announced that he is retiring, at least for a period of time, hopefully not a long period of time, but an indefinite one as it stands. So I do wish him the very best, and I'm going to take the previous glass. I'm just going to raise my glass in a short toast. If you got something in yours, why not do the same? Joe, best of wishes to you, best of luck, and hope that our paths cross for real, either here in Seoul, if you make it down this way, or when, not if, but when I end up in the UK to do a bit of touring of all of the lovely, lovely distilleries in Scotland and in England. Okay, anyway, to you, Joe. Okay, Really lovely whiskey. I like the 81. I love the 101. Let's get into it though, shall we? First of all, so it's 50.5%. It's natural in color, just like all bourbon in the U.S. And bourbon only comes from the U.S. It's all natural in color. It's not legal. It's illegal to add color. And it's also most likely non-chill filtered. And I learned this also from one of my subscribers. I learn a lot from my subscribers. This I learned, I believe, from Vic Drago. So Vic told me that a bourbon over a certain ABV or a certain proof, they simply don't chill filter it because it's unnecessary. So this certainly fits the description of a high proof straight bourbon. So definitely high proof. It's 50.5%. That's quite high. Okay, color. Let's look at the color. What color do you see? I see a brassy orange hue. And the light reflects pretty much a deep amber. Anyway, beautiful in color, and it's just lovely knowing that that's natural, isn't it? Anything else? No. Let's get on to the nose, and as you know here on the channel, if you don't know, I do put some advertisements with the hopes that eventually I'll be able to subsidize some of the bottles that I buy with my own money with the money from the revenue from the ads. So at some point that'll happen in the future, let's hope. And anyway, so there'll be a few ads, and you can always skip them by just clicking on skip ad. Your video may not even show ads because only about 200 views per 1,000 contain the ads to begin with. So you may not know of any such ads. Anyway, there will be a short YouTube ad right here. Okay, welcome back. Let's get on to the nose. Wild Turkey 101, neat. Absolutely no water added. And about, 8 minutes time. 6 minutes? 8 minutes time has lapsed. Just enough time. This is 7.5 to 8 years old, in fact. I think I mentioned that was asserted on camera by Jimmy Russell, the former master distiller of Wild Turkey. Okay? So, what do we get here? It's got quite a complex nose, and a lot more going on than the 81, which is now simply called straight bourbon, Wild Turkey straight bourbon. It's fresh. It's got rye spices, mintiness to it, but it's got a lot more than that. It's got the vanilla, definitely. It's got the caramel, absolutely. What else has it got? I find that I really do smell some strawberry jam, especially as time passes. Anyway, so strawberry jamminess to it. And if you give it enough time, you also get some hot buttered dark rye toast. And I've got my notes here. Prepared these the other day. And the vanilla that I get here, it is of the pod variety or the bean variety. So the vanilla beans, very rich smell, and it does not have that sort of the tincture or the spirit smell of vanilla extract. Yeah, strawberry jam, really nice. Okay, it's time to move on to the palate. Let's taste this wonderful whiskey. Cheers all, and a big cheers to Joe, and also to Mr. Matthew McConaughey, the actor. hope you have fun with your new position there. I know I would. I think a lot of people would give their eye teeth to have at least some sort of input into one of America's great bourbons. Okay. Cheers. Pooh. The first sip, pretty strong. It's got some teeth to this, and it will bite. So there's a bit of a peppery, a biting pepperiness to it. But then here's the thing. This is what you've got to do. You have to go back in again. You never judge the whiskey by its first taste. Never. Okay, so let's get back in there. Cheers again. Totally smoothed out. You see, your palate gets a little bit, let's say, acclimatized to the strength. Let me go one more time. Third time's the charm. Perfect. So it gets smoother and smoother as your palate becomes familiar with the ABV. Okay, now it's got quite a complex taste as well. The palate is quite complex. It's got a sweet, spicy opening. You've got the a little bit of the rye spices coming in again. And again, this is a 101, in fact, is a high rye bourbon, a high rye straight bourbon. What does that mean? Well, as it's bourbon, it must contain 51% or more of corn in the mash. So high rye could simply be 49% rye and 51% corn. Likely there is some malted barley in there as well. So anyway, I believe there's a distinction of high rye, what percentage rye constitutes high rye. But anyway, it's high enough that I can taste a little bit of the rye spices going on. Now, the most interesting thing I find with this palate, and let me just try it one more time to make sure that I am not simply pulling that out of a hat. With its age, it's got considerable oakiness, and there's a lot of berry fruitiness to it. Strawberries, raspberries, blackberries perhaps. Ripened ones, in fact, or ones that have been set on the counter to get to room temperature just before serving, let's say. But anyway, these berries are not just on their own. They're in a salad with not very much lettuce and of that bland, iceberg variety or whatever, but with a sweet, reduced balsamic vinegar dressing. Just binding that all together. This is what I'm tasting, and it's really quite lovely to think of that oaky balsamic vinegar mixing with the red berry fruits and giving you a very refreshing and yet very interesting and unusual set of flavors that are being presented together. Superb. The finish, a little bit appley, and yet still oaky. So kind of like an oaked, heavily oaked Applejack, perhaps. Applejack, the drink, not the baked good. Still, rye spiciness is present, and the length of this finish is exceptionally long, especially considering that we're talking about 7.5, 8-year-old whiskey. Although I think the bourbon being put in absolutely brand spanking new charred oak barrels, I think that has an effect on the length of the finish, whereas other whiskeys from around the world are often aged in refill casks or used casks. Anyway, okay, let's get on to the smells and the tastes of this whiskey with water, shall we? Oh, no, I'll wait till I add a bit of water here. Okay, so should I? Well, okay, we'll look at this right now. So neat. Still lots of oak. That strawberry is still there. And the spices. How about the one with water and lots of thyme? Thyme, T-I-M-E, not T-H-Y-M-E. How about now? Well, there's a lot of citrus going on here. And not just any. I really like the nose on this whiskey with a bit of water. Let's add some, and I'll tell you what happens here, because it's really interesting. I've got a healthy 30-something milliliters, so we're going to add in 2 measures. So I put in about 4 milliliters, let's say, give or take, of water, filtered water, into, let's say, I don't know, 35 milliliters of 50.1% ABV whiskey. So that brings the volume up to nearly 40. Okay, so 40 milliliters, and we still have, let's call it 50% of 35, so 17 and a half. Is that right? Half of 35, yeah, 17 and a half. 17 and a half milliliters of alcohol. So now we've got 17 in 40. I got that right. Pretty sure that I do. Okay, well, anyway. Nonsensical, isn't it? That shouldn't be that hard. 17 out of 40. Okay, so 20 out of 40 is 50%. 16 out of 40 is then 40%. So yeah, about 40, let's say 42%-ish, 43. You get the idea. Anyway, it's been lowered. Let's see what happens, and we'll have a short advertisement right there. Welcome back. This is Wild Turkey 101, and we're testing it now with water. Oh yeah, and the coolest is, this is the coolest thing that I think happens to this whiskey. So it goes from this voluptuous balsamic vinaigrette berry salad, and then what happens now is I'm getting lemon candies. So lemon candies are coming through here, and not just the candies, but also that kind of scratch and sniff kind of lemon smell. Yes, I could smell that all day long. Beautiful. And you've still got a little bit of the vanilla and the caramel. The strawberries are still there. If you like Smoothie King, they make a nice lemon and strawberry smoothie that is quite good, and this is not dissimilar from that smoothie. Okay, let's get on to the palate now. Cheers again, all. Totally smoothens it out. Still quite strong. I mean, the flavors are still very potent. A lot of citrus has come into the mix here. I wrote here sweet, sour. Citrus comes out. The spices are still there. The mouthfeel has a little bit of a jelly-like feel to it, and as a unusual flavor idea, something also gets a little bit like some rich baked apple tarts. So apple tarts, the tart ones with tart apples. And the finish now with water. Still quite dry. The rye spices are still there, but the citrus is really becoming quite potent, even in the finish. And it kind of feels a little bit like Fruit by the Foot, the orange version. I think there's an orange version. And then now that rye kind of mintiness is coming through now. And it's still a very, very long finish. Now, if you're looking at the pictures, that's the newest packaging, the newest, most modern version of Wild Turkey 101. There's been a little bit of a redesign. This is 2 iterations previous, I believe. And I was told by the proprietor of the place where I bought this that I should go with the older version of Wild Turkey because he claimed that it was better. Wish I had a way to test that. The newest version, there's the older one. The newest version is not yet available here in Seoul. And there's a mosquito or something flying around again. Anyway, I get what I can. Still just a lovely, lovely whiskey, whether it's the older version or not. Yeah. Okay, well, let's get on to. No, we did that already. Let's compare these two now. Okay, so not much time with water. A little bit of water. That's the newest version, newest glassful. That lemon is quite potent. How about the older one? Well, even more citrus, but also more vanilla is, well, I notice a little more vanilla there. And in this one, a little bit more of the rye is still evident here. Okay, well, we'll just mix them because there's no point in having 2 partial glasses of Wild Turkey when you can have 1 healthy glass. There it is. So how about the score? What about the WhiskyWhistle whiskey score for Wild Turkey 101? Well, I'm glad you asked. The WhiskyWhistle whiskey score for Wild Turkey 101 High Rye Straight Kentucky Bourbon, that is a mouthful, is going to be 91 out of 100. 91 out of 100, that's the WhiskyWhistle whiskey score for Wild Turkey 101. Now, what did I write here? I wrote down that it's complex and fruity, and I think this is the fruitiest bourbon I've tasted. Now, I haven't tasted that many, but it's pretty darn fruity. I love the balsamic vinaigrette-esque salad flavor that's coming through there. And also the interestingly shift towards citrus with a bit of water added. Very cool, very nice. And the nickname I'm giving this one is going to be called the Balsamic Lemon Drop. So that's the nickname for Wild Turkey 101 here on Whiskey Whistle. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like watching some of these photos. You can see this video yourself by either looking at the YouTube channel for Wild Turkey, or from their website. Go to wildturkeybourbon.com. You'll have to put in your age and so on. And well, it's fairly new, Matthew McConaughey being added on to the personnel there as a creative director. So that's pretty new, and they've got it everywhere. So I feel confident that there'll be no problems with me posting pictures of a famous actor here, since he now has a public role at a public company. Anyway, my thoughts. They're only mine. Mine and mine only. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry for the ramble. It's a little bit hard to keep my train of thought here at 2 o'clock in the morning. Should be in bed. Instead, I'm going to sit down and slowly finish that first. Thank you for waiting for me. Thank you for screwing up my sound for take number 1 so that I could have a little extra in my glass. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Tune in for 102, coming very soon. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't by clicking the link right down there. Like the video, please. Leave a comment if you've tried it. Tell me what your thoughts on Wild Turkey 101 are. Also, tell me what you think of Matthew McConaughey being added on the payroll over there at Wild Turkey, owned by Campari Group. Is it just a marketing ploy, or is there some substance there? I think there's substance. Let's wait and see. You tell me what you think, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.